It's been a while since we've done a tier list on this great young channel we have here. And we've just finished Succession about 3 weeks ago, so we thought we would give it a go. And by we, I mean me. There's not two people here. So yes, it's simmered with me. Succession, how long ago did I actually finish it? It hasn't been a month yet. Let's not be crazy. I'm pretty confident I can name all these characters. Maybe I shouldn't be so confident, but we'll see as we progress. That's Willa. I know that one. She's actually in like every season, so I better know that one, huh? And I also didn't do a preview. I didn't do this in my head or anything like that, so this will all be off the cuff. Also, this seemed to be the one with the most characters, so, you know, it's probably the best one to do, I think. Now, I didn't look too hard, but I looked a little bit, so why don't we just get started? Also, it doesn't seem to be in any particular order. Like, we've got a Kendall Roy here, but a Roman Roy here, but a Logan Roy here, and I haven't seen Shiv. There she is in the middle. My goodness. So we'll have to see. Now, we are starting with Willa. Sometimes you think it would be better to start with the heavy hitters so you know how to tier them. But Willa wouldn't exactly be an S tier, would she? But she's an A tier character. She's around. Her progression over the story is very interesting. Initially, you, like, feel bad for her, and she's not, like... She seems untainted, and she seems to understand that the family is, like, bullshit, as Roman would say. We're all bullshit. But then she progressively kind of sinks into it and is, like, very mad when people make fun of Connor, when she used to kind of make fun of Connor with people sometimes. I guess most of season 1, she was just sort of, like, everybody would make fun of her and ignore her and stuff like that. Kendall does call her a prostitute in that one scene, which she is, at least I think she is. What does he say? Kendall says to Logan, like, "Oh, you're just a prostitute, Dad," and he looks over and says, "No offense," and she says, "Fuck off." That was pretty good. She has a few, like, dismissive fuck offs in her, not quite the Logan Roy variety, but she's pretty good. So I like Willa. She's a good character. Next one is Sandy Jr., or female Sandy Cheeks. I mean, she's only in a few scenes. She's, like, fine. Does that mean she goes in B tier or C tier? I guess we'll say C tier for Sandy. Her and Shiv have a little bonding moment. There's, like, 2 big moments in the show that I'm remembering where Shiv, like, talks a woman out of her best interests, I think. Though she, like, muddies the water to the point where I'm not even sure if that's true. She does it with the witness, who probably won't be on this list because she's only in one scene. And then she does it with Sandy at the, what do you call it? What were they at? They're at some investor something. Frank coming in now. Now, Frank is probably A tier, but he's probably virgin upwards. Frank is great. Frank at the beginning in season 1 is, like, the nice guy and also, like, kind of loyal to Kendall and blows himself up at the first, like, board vote to try and get rid of Logan. Then by the end, he's sort of just back in as a crony, and he's sort of just, like, always around with Carl. Like, he continues to be, like, the nicer one. Even if he is looking out for his own interests at certain points. I think Frank probably would have been higher towards the beginning. Not that I think he necessarily falls off or anything. But Frank is a likable, funny guy sometimes. Can you believe it? Stewie is great too. Stewie's probably not around enough to be an S tier, but every time he's around, he is great. I think his worst parts is probably towards the very beginning. He was just trying to be a cab driver in one scene. That was pretty funny. And then he's always kind of being friends with Kendall, and he's always upfront with him about how he can't trust him, but Kendall always trusts him. And whenever he interacts with any of the other characters, it's always interesting. Stewie's cool. We like Stewie a lot. I feel like everybody likes Stewie. He's probably, like, the fan favorite character. He also was always winning, I think. I don't think he was losing at any point in the show. Connor. Connor's interesting. Connor has to be S tier, right? The more I think about it, the more... I talked about this a lot in I have season reviews for every Succession season, which I'm sure this video will get more views from. So if you want to hear any fleshed out thoughts from this genius you're hearing right now, you can go and see those. I did probably like 40 to 45 minutes on all of them, every season. There's a reason why I was shilling that in response to Connor. But I cannot for the life of me remember it. You better get used to me forgetting my trail of thought if you want to watch any of those videos, goddamn. Connor is very dislikable towards the beginning, becomes a lot more likable towards the end, but likability doesn't really mean anything in this cast. Oh, I remember the thing I was going to say. I was going to say that I always say that, like, Succession does have a very core group of cast, and, like, we'll have an episode where it's like a wedding for their kid's mother, and somehow every character is there, even though maybe it doesn't make the most sense for them all to be there, but they all are there because all of the characters are always at everything because we have a very tight-knit cast, and like it's always going to be them interacting with each other. And it's a great. So like Connor's constantly around, and I feel like all of the characters of the very core cast are probably going to be S tier just because they're all great. There's no weaknesses, and they're all just around so much more than everybody else, I would say. Though Frank is kind of a member of that core cast, and here he is an A. So Jerry's not going to be an A. That's all I got to say about that. Connor's the greatest. What is this going to be? Is this tier list going to be like, oh, let me remember all my favorite Connor lines? Connor Roy was invested in politics from a very young age. That was hilarious. He is the older sibling. Yeah. My favorite Connor moment is probably when he's pitching himself and almost succeeding when they're trying to choose the next president. That was great. I talked about that a lot in my season 3 review too, so everything about that is great. Connor gets married. Connor's like complete lack of self-belief. I guess that's true for most of the characters in the show. It's pretty great. Him at the beginning where he's screaming about the butter, that's when he was very dislikable, but then we continued on. Him sort of being the older brother sometimes too is interesting, like when Logan died. Though also he's kind of also being the least, well, Roman's definitely being the least pragmatic about it, but we like Connor Roy here. We were interested in Connor Roy from a very young age. Now that has a different twang to it, huh? That implies some things. Connor's mother went to the mental institution. It's not cool. But he did molest Roman, remember that? Now we got Comfrey, I think her name was. She was great. She disappeared. I also didn't realize until afterwards that this is like the podcast girl, who I don't think gets acting gigs anymore. She was good. She was like a Greg love interest, which was interesting. She was always around and interacting with Kendall. I did like her when she was around. She's probably at the bottom of A tier here. She had some good interactions, especially with Greg. And like the scene where Greg is like playing her and like the princess girl or whatever at the wedding, and he's like saying different things in his ear, and it's just like the deconstruction of Greg as by these women is like terrific stuff. We like that stuff a lot. Jess as a similar probably goes in A tier just because Jess is very likable, and whenever she's around, it's great. She's not really a character though. She's just kind of doing things. Her like breakup scene with Kendall is great. Everything around that. Kendall calling like the new girl he has new Jess in the final episode is pretty funny. I feel like with Stewie, everybody likes Jess, so I probably don't have to justify that one too much. Jerry is definitely S tier. I'll probably put her above Connor. Jerry is a very interesting character who's always... You're trying to... She seems like she has more of a conscience than most people. She also seems very good at her job, which is more than you can say for most of the people in the show. These things are all endearing. Her relationship with Roman is probably her defining feature, which is cool. We like that. Her interactions with Logan are sort of what I'm thinking about, where it's like she's the FBI stuff, where she's like, you can't tell the FBI how to fuck off, and he tells them to fuck off, and her coming back around and all that stuff. Also her getting fired at the end, but not getting fired because fucking Logan's dead, and then getting fired by Roman again, and then getting out was all good stuff. We like Jerry. What other Jerry moments come to mind? You know, Roman sure did jerk off in her bathroom. Remember that? And she like intimidated Tom out of not coming forward at the beginning. That was pretty funny. But Jerry and the crisis stuff was always great, so we like that. We've got Rava here. Rava's probably B tier, I guess, just so we have somebody there. She's not really in it too much. I feel like there's seasons that go by where she doesn't show up. She's like, I think she's probably in season 1 the most, right? She's Kendall's ex-wife, and she's like mean to him because he's a fuck-up, and she doesn't like it, and she is usually a tool for interesting Kendall situations. I don't think she really ever interacts with any other characters, besides like when they are all at her house, but then it's just with his new girlfriend and Greg a little bit. And when the kids are around, I guess. But Rava's pretty cool. Now you have this dude who is the Turkish dude that takes Roman, and then they all get like kidnapped for a little while. I feel like when he had some interactions, he was like kind of interesting, but I don't remember him too much, so we'll have to put him in C tier. We have Nan here. She's like a funny character. We'll probably put her up with Rava. She wasn't too likable. I wasn't wishing for her to come back, but when she did show up, it was funny. The bidding war thing at the end is great, where it's just like 8, 9, what comes after 9, and all that stuff. She felt like she was in the middle of a bidding war. That wasn't cool. And all the Pierce stuff. Her just sort of being a matriarchal equivalent of Logan, but how different they make them, and all that stuff is interesting. That's sort of her being the CNN. What do you call it? Insert rather than the Fox News insert. Yeah, she was a good character. We have Hugo here. Hugo probably has to go on A tier, right? Nobody really likes Hugo, but that's kind of the point. Hugo, like, trying to knife Carolina at every section is, like, great. Is Carolina next? She is. Carolina's great. She's, like, top of A tier, I think. She's probably not in it enough, or doesn't have enough big moments to be in S tier. My goodness, does she look good in season 4? You know what I'm saying, fellas? You know what I'm frickin' saying over here? And she does fuck, like, one of the best parts is that, like, Jerry and Carolina are the only ones that, oh my god, what's his name? Lucas wants to keep. That's really cool. It's like, they are good at their jobs, but also they're, like, the ones Shiv pitched for and stuff like that. Carolina's always on top of it, and we like her for that. We have Lisa Wolf. I remember her full name because it was funny. She was great when she was around. She's only in like 5 scenes, I reckon, in the show. That's why she's not C tier. She's also doesn't have enough of an impact to make too much of an impression on me, I don't think. She was cool. She clearly knew what she was doing. She was clearly sick of Kendall's shit, and, you know, then they went their separate ways. She was like Shiv's friend, apparently, and they had a cool scene together. This banker dude talks funny, but like in a cool way. So he probably goes with Lisa Wolf here. He's like telling Logan to sell. But Logan doesn't want to sell. Then he tries to do the deal with Roman and this guy. I think Carl's also on that trip too, right? But he's got a good voice, and he narrates things, and he tells people off sometimes. And then I think when he gets off the boat in season 2, at the end of season 2, does he ever come back? I don't remember. Sandy Sr., I mean, it is interesting how he's handled after, like, season 2, where he is just, like, a guy in a wheelchair. When he was around initially, it was cool. I would have loved to have seen him and Logan actually interact. I don't think we ever actually get to see that, but that would have been fascinating. But he's not too much of a character. We've got Shiv's political boyfriend. He was okay. Do we put him in B tier or C tier? I guess he's kind of annoying sometimes, and him and Tom have some painfully cringeworthy scenes in the intentional sense that make me uncomfortable and queasy. So I guess because of that, I have an intuition to put him in C tier. But Shiv did like him in season 1. That was crazy. And we got Shiv here. Shiv is probably the second best character in the show, I think. We'll get to number 1 later. They haven't come up yet. The journey we go on with Shiv and the, like, by the end, because by the beginning you're like, well, why doesn't he just give it to Shiv? She obviously seems like the most competent one. She has a job that she's actually good at. And then at the beginning of season 2, the pivot is, well, we're going to go with Shiv. And you're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. This is true. Fuck these boys. And then the slow progression of her slowly fucking it up and you buying every fuck up she does is like a great downfall and into, like, illustrating that she's probably a little bit more competent than both of her brothers, but she is also, like, prone to their similar self-destructing habits. I mean, Shiv is just great in every scene she's in. Do we have to go through the best hits? I blanked. I was thinking about her in the hospital in episode 2. I was thinking about her making fun of Tom having sex with the other ladies when she returns to, like, their bedroom. That was pretty funny. We should talk about our feelings. That scene's tremendous, but that's more all 3 of the siblings. Her argument with Tom towards the end, if we actually talk about the dramatic stuff, is great. Her sort of being principled in her political senses and that fucking her over a bunch is also really interesting, especially with the president guy, who might not actually be president at the end. I'm skimming through the characters here, and I don't think he's here. Mencken, that's his name. So now I remember it. Didn't even need a face or a name. All that stuff with the Shiv is really interesting. Shiv is obviously up there. Carrie is great. Carrie is probably just beneath Carolina. all the ladies of Logan in the funeral when they all hold hands and stuff. That's like a great scene. So that's probably what sticks with me the most. But her like ordering shit around at the beginning of season 4 was great for the little time it lasted. Her like freaking out as Logan's dying and not really getting it, and everything after that, and then you sort of feel empathy for her after that. Also, like she was always like a background character in season 3, so it made sense when she was like more of a main character in season 3. I remember she's the impetus of maybe the greatest Succession scene, which is Logan asking Roman if are you afraid of pussy boy? Whatever he says, that's a classic one. When they're going to see Madsen on his fucking island or whatever the fuck. What a tremendous scene. We like Carrie here. Now Kendall, it's interesting because I think I'm a Kendall non-believer. I think Kendall is probably my least favorite out of the 3 core siblings. Poor Connor, he is the older sibling, but he's definitely the least interesting of the 4. Though sometimes he's the most interesting, but also probably the least fun to watch. Is Jerry ahead of Kendall? Is an interesting question. I'd probably say no. Kendall constantly self-destructs. It's like his thing, and it is fun and great to watch every time. You do feel sad for him sometimes, but not as sad as I think the show and most people feel for Kendall. Do I feel for Kendall? So there's a bit of a disconnect there. Like Roman obviously is the funnier one. Shiv is like the more serious, dramatic one in a sense, and I think Kendall rounds it out as like the sad one. And I guess that might be the archetype I like the least. Also, I didn't really like most of his season 3 stuff after he fucked it. Like I didn't really care for the birthday episode where we were supposed to be sad for him and stuff like that, or the preceding, or what do you call it? It's the opposite of preceding, postceding. Kendall stuff that season. Then he shaved his head. Then he maybe tried to kill himself. Then he got fucked over by his dad and admitted everything. And then him getting arrogant whenever he starts winning is pretty funny. And it happens a lot. Oh, I don't remember this girl's name, but it's Roman's not real girlfriend who he doesn't have sex with. Can you believe it? She was great whenever she was better than fucking Hugo and probably Comfrey. Whenever she was in a scene, she was great. She had a lot of personality. She was funny. She like kept up with Roman. She had the axe over his head to make fun of him. She's also featured in that great Are You Afraid of Pussy scene that I was just talking about, where Logan asks where she went. That was pretty funny. I also remember liking Roman's like first girlfriend in season 1. I remember her being cool. I don't know if she's on here. Probably not. But I forgot about her until this moment, so I don't want to call her Bethany. Is that her name? Terrific if it is. But we like Bethany. Or that girl. Gil is like a Bernie Sanders insert, I'm pretty sure. He's like interesting whenever he's on screen. He's got a nice voice and a weirdly nice face, huh? He's like a guy. He seems trustworthy, but he's also kind of not. And I think all that stuff is interesting, especially at the end of season 1 when him and Logan sort of make a deal and stuff like that. After Logan brought up his dead wife on TV, that was not very nice. So his wife killed herself. True, because he's not a cool guy, apparently. Next up, we have the mother, Catherine? Don't remember her real name, but I know she's the mother. Now, this actress puts on probably the greatest acting performance I've ever seen in Black Sails, and this was not quite that. So I think that probably did hamper my disappointment, even though this role is played to absolute perfection. So she's going in A tier somewhere, probably above Frank, beneath Stewie, because Stewie's our fan favorite right now. She is like painful to like watch. Her new husband is the worst. She does a great job at capturing the type of person that immediately starts talking shit about whoever just left because she feels like she needs to say something. It's like a terrific portrayal. Even her husband that she's like clearly like she likes and is in love with. And like immediately like to try and placate her kids who she just will actively talk shit about to their faces will be like, he's probably going to sniff every piece of trouser that's here or something like that. And it's like, she's just like making fun of him. It's like, why? She's getting married to him right now. But she's just that type of person. She's like a miserable black hole. She's a great HBO mother. What can we say? The only thing is, I've seen this actress. The Black Sails portrayal is just so good that it'll haunt anything she ever does, I feel like. Like, she is such the dramatic character in that, as Eleanor's grandmother. It's terrific. I want to see her in more stuff. This is another thing we talked about in all of our Succession discussions, where the show's really about restraint. And I guess because of the restraint, she was never able to do a scene like that. Because she just wasn't that type of character. She wasn't capable of that type of scene. So what, are we going to hate on her for it? No, I'm not even hating on the show for it. I think it was great. Lucas is probably S tier, huh? He's probably above Connor, I think. He's a really great character. What's his assistant's name that he keeps harassing and is in love with? Ebba. She's not on the list, and neither is his bearded guy. God, we're missing some characters on this. But all their interpersonal interactions and the fact that it never actually fully blows up is really interesting. His interaction with the brothers, him as an antagonist, all this is great. His like dynamic with Shiv is really interesting towards the back half of season 4. The immediate understanding when Logan initially meets him, where you're like, oh, this is a guy like Logan. This is exactly what Logan wishes his kids were, and Logan's like impressed with him, and how that was all communicated and just there like back and forth, and the fact that Roman was left so out of it. That scene is like a really great. I'm like collecting scenes for a video I want to do. I might actually use that one from Succession. Oh, but there's another one I wanted to use. Anyway. True. Is there anything else to say about Lucas desperately? Everything about him is good. His final talk with Tom is great. All that stuff is good. I believe this is Naomi, right? She's just when she's got long hair. Her introduction was very strong. I thought Naomi was great. As she persisted and slowly became like just Kendall's girlfriend, maybe it got a little bit less interesting. And I was like, why is this girl doing this to herself? Why is she here? Why does she like this guy? They strongly relate to each other, I'll say. But she, like, crashed her car or something, and the Waystar Royco people didn't cover it well, and she was mad at Kendall, and they were, like, yelling at each other and getting high and drinking in that helicopter. He nearly took off with the helicopter, and then they were in a loving relationship. And they weren't. But, all that stuff was interesting, especially when that was Kendall, like, in the dumps. Season 2 Kendall's probably the best Kendall. Because he was, like, ruthless and kind of competent for a little while. And Naomi was part of that at the beginning, so that was nice. Now, Tom's nemesis over here, who runs the news thing's name, I am not recalling right now. She had some fun scenes, so we'll put her in C tier. She's not or B tier. She's not a C tier. She's not as cool as this banker guy, though. The great scene where Logan, I think it's like this, no, it's at the end of season 4, episode 1. I was going to say it's like maybe the last scene before he dies, but that's definitely not true. Well, in the last scene before he dies, he says he's going to fire this lady. But what was I saying? Oh, and there's like a fat dude giving the news, and he's like, who is this fucking guy? And he's like calling her to get pissed off. The fact that I use every person to bring up Logan somehow is probably going to indicate how this top of the tier list is going to go, huh? Sometimes, you just got fucking yawn. Now, about this lady whose name I don't remember. She was cool. She had some fun scenes with Tom. She seemed not intuitive, not instructive. She seemed to show initiative. Maybe that's what I meant. But she was cool. Anyway, we got Ewan. Ewan's like annoying whenever he shows up. We'll put him at the top of... no, he has that final speech that's really great. So we'll put him in A tier. I don't know what else I've seen this guy in. But it's definitely something. That funeral speech is like the best part of his character. I think it's great. It's him trying to show loyalty whenever him and Logan would actually argue. That was all fun. All this stuff with Greg is like, well, it's not fun, but it's fun. And he finds a great way to like intersperse between them. And he was like loyal to the family till the end or whatever, even though he like hated everybody involved. Rhea, I forgot about Rhea. Rhea's got to be in a tier too, right? She's like a very core character in season 2, but then disappears. She's like Logan's love interest there. She's playing both sides. She's fucking people over. She's fallen into the trap. She's trying to get in with the family. It was a fun time in the whole season 2. On the contrary, we've got Marsha here. Marsha is a similarly ranked character, I'd say. She's probably above Hugo. Kofi. Maybe this love interest, but not Jess. The most interesting Marsha stuff is probably season 1, where she is just like Logan's unequivocal ally. It leads to her, like, when she, like, has outbursts and stuff towards the kids and stuff. That's always pretty interesting. She's always helping him around and stuff like that. Then when they get adversarial, it kind of pivots where it's, she's in the show less definitely after the full breakup and divorce or whatever. I think they agreed to get back together, or was it a divorce? I can't remember. She's in it a lot less, but even towards the end, even to the funeral stuff, every time she's on screen, she's doing something interesting or being a presence, and we like that. Lawrence was always really good whenever he was around. Every scene he had, this actor's really good. I like him. I've definitely also seen him in other things. He's pretty absent from most of the show because he's, they like fire. Well, he had a board seat, but then they got rid of Vulture. No, their name wasn't Vulture. It was something else that started with a V, right? But it was supposed to be like Vulture, I think. I don't know. Well, when they close that company in season 2, he sort of goes away. Though he is brought up towards the end about Madsen looking for other potential CEOs, which was interesting. But yes, all of his scenes with Kendall early on are really cool. Then I think he has one with the Roman that's kind of fun. So it's a good one. We've got Tom. I was kind of a Tom disbeliever if you go back and you listen to most of my season discussions. But he definitely comes together towards the end. Season 4 is probably his strongest season, along with the season 3 finale. Like, I didn't really care for his, like, sadness about going to prison or whatever. That wasn't really an interesting part of the show. His excitement at not going to prison, that was a fun scene. Obviously, him and Greg have have many great scenes, but have a great number of scenes. Great number of great scenes. What can you say? I don't know. What there's so much to say about Tom. How do we say it all here? His closeness to Logan towards the end is interesting. His closeness to Shiv throughout is interesting. His constant butting heads with Shiv throughout is interesting. Whenever he talks to Kendall, it's kind of interesting. Him and Roman don't have too many interactions. Remember when he goes to Roman's house for dinner and everybody makes fun of him? And that wasn't very nice. And he tells Shiv to fuck off. That was pretty good. And Sporticus, or whatever his name was. Sporkus, or whatever the fuck. Can't forget about Sporkus. We'll get to Sporkus' last. You know, sometimes you save the best for last. We love Tom Wamsgams. He says funny things all the time. ATN, that's him. He was in the Cruises division. Do you remember that? He did some bad things. Now, who the fuck is this lady? Is this the first one I don't recognize? Is she like the president person? That's like the advocate for the first president that shows up sometimes? But it doesn't quite look like her. I'm trying to get closer to the screen, everybody. That's why the audio sounds weird. I don't got a fucking clue who this is. I'm sure the comments will let me know, but... I don't like not knowing things. Next is Colin, I think is his name, right? He's the security guard. He's like a B-tier guy. He's funny whenever he's around. He gets a scene with Logan towards the end where he asks him what it's all about. He's like following Kendall around. He like had to go see a shrink when he was like out of the job, so Kendall got him back in. When he confronts Kendall and goes, "I know you," that was a good scene. But now we've got his best buddy, Logan Roy, who is definitely the best character in the show, I would say. He's like an enigma in the show itself. He's very much a Tywin Lannister-esque figure. All of my favorite moments are probably him yelling at people or going crazy and stuff like that. He's the only one that really gets to act truly without restraint in the anger sense. And I really like that in characters or just in performances in general. I think Brian Cox, I know his name, does a tremendous job here. I think he definitely makes the show, and I feel like my interest did dip a little bit after he died, even though those episodes were really good and really fast-paced. I remember I took a break and I was like, but we don't even get to see Logan anymore. And then all of his post-death characterization is maybe his most interesting characterization, where it's like, they showed the video of him actually having fun with like all his regular bums, like with Jerry and Frank and Carl and something, whatever, they were singing the song or whatever. That was like interesting. And then also him yelling about his fucking useless kids in the one thing afterwards that they ended up editing. That was all great. I I mean, there's like, you better be smelling your armpit, Romulus, is probably my favorite Logan line. That's a pretty funny one. Or the pussy line, as we've gone over many times. The fuck offs. We gotta love the fuck offs. You don't need me to tell you why fucking Logan Roy is a great character. I wonder if most people have him at the top, or there's a lot of Kendall simps. We gotta get rid of these people, but I'm sure he's not a controversial pick up the top. We've got Carl here. Carl will definitely go in A tier too. He's going to go beneath Frank right here. Carl's around a lot, and I think I tell this anecdote in my season 4 video. I didn't realize he was CFO until like he verbally tells Kendall when Kendall's going to do that presentation, and I was like, oh, that's what he does. I thought he was just like a crony, especially when he was in Bore on the Floor, which we somehow haven't talked about yet. It's like, oh, the CFO was made to do that? Isn't he like the second most important guy? Well, I guess the COO is like the next most important people. Speaking of CFO, Roman's up. I think we're done with Carl. Carl's like a funny guy. But on my bean poll or something he said one time, Roman can go in third. You know, we love Shiv here, but Roman, you know, in some essence, he is the identity of the show, where he's saying funny things constantly, and very weird funny things constantly, and acting very weird constantly, and he's very brash, like the show is. And he's also in 50 different layers of sarcasm and subtext, like the show is a lot of the time. Roman Roy is Succession. My goodness, how deep. Ponder that for a second. You'll never get out of that thought. What the fuck else am I going to say about Roman? He cried at the funeral. That was crazy. He was in the most disbelief when he died. That was crazy. He says funny things. The most funny things. That was crazy. We like Roman. And then we have Gregory. Remember? He's probably beneath Jerry, right? Greg has some funny moments, though. We like Greg for his funniness. He's crazy. What is he going to do with a soul anyway? Now, that was a funny one. Greg somehow survived, even though he was trying to fuck people over and was being very useless. He would never commit to anything. Was he on Kendall's side? Did he give him the documents? No, he pivoted. Is he on that side now? Is he loyal to Tom? No, he's in there telling people other things. Is he loyal to Shiv? Did he listen to her threats? No, he's over there telling Kendall about it. Fucking Gregory, can you believe it? It is interesting, the trajectory of his character when he's first introduced in it's like, is this going to be a story of like a guy getting corrupted, or is this going to be the story of like a guy rising through the ranks, and like the actual kids don't actually deserve it, but he is the guy from an outside group of the family and he deserves it or something? No, it's just like Greg is completely fucked from the beginning, and it only manifests increasingly as the show goes on. And that was a fun lack of a character arc to watch. Not a lot of character arcs that you're looking at on your screen. Thus is Succession, thus is prestige TV. I think that about wraps up our great tier list here. I, again, did not episode by episode, season by season discussions here on this channel. They're not too far away. You can just click on it, and I'm sure you'll scroll a little bit and you'll see them all. I plan on talking about Succession a little bit in scripted videos too, so look forward to that on the main channel. Anything else to say? I'm doing Industry right now, which is a show people compare to Succession a lot, even though they're not very much alike at all. So I'm currently going through that. I think I just put out my season 2 video. Actually, I got to decide whether that comes out or this comes out first. So, either look forward to it or go and watch it, goddammit. True, we love Succession here. And I think that's where we're going to end it. So, everybody, Logan Roy #1, Logan Roy Master Race. We love the Scottish, even though, he's based off an Australian guy. I don't know why they had to change that. That wasn't very cool. Support links in the description below. Thanks.